Hi, I'm Charlie, and in 2024, I have decided that I am pursuing the journey of becoming a digital minimalist. And a big part of that is reassessing my relationship with social media. And in this video, I'm going to share what, why, how I'm going to do that, but also the fears that I have around doing it because as I've discussed in my previous video about why I'm becoming a digital minimalist in 2024, we are so dependent upon technology these days. So it feels like a very, very big change for me right now. So, a bit of my background with social media. That's a lie. I did have social media when I was a kid. I was online a lot as a child and a teenager, and I was on things like MySpace and Bebo. I'm 31 now, so those things are like pretty archaic, but at the time they were the equivalent of Instagram and TikTok. And I loved it. And then when I started working and I entered the real world, as everyone always says, I honestly didn't have time to be on social media or to be online much at all, apart from being online around my job. So I went for 10 years really without using social media at all. And then in 2020, around the time of the pandemic, I discovered or rediscovered Instagram, and I started sharing my artwork online. I started talking about creativity online. And then by 2021, I had started talking about my journey with rediscovering who I am, which I called my rewilding journey, hence my username. And in that period of time, I've amassed not a big following by today's standards, but like a fairly considerable following that to me was a complete shock and feels like something that is quite a big deal. And so I have been enjoying using social media to build a community, build people will call it like a brand, like, I've become a content creator, and I didn't even really mean to become a content creator. But I stopped and thought the other day, you know what? Is this still what I really enjoy doing? Or am I just doing this because I now have this platform and because I feel like I should? So I've decided to experiment and to try quitting social media or various aspects of social media, which I'll go into in this video, for 6 months in 2024. And yeah, that's the plan. So what I'm quitting, that's the first thing. So the two ones for me, so currently what I use is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Substack. Now, TikTok and Instagram, they've got to go. Those are the ones that cause me the most grief in terms of, well, I'll go on to the why, but they cause me the most grief. So TikTok and Instagram are going to be completely, not deleted, but they will be completely inaccessible to me for 6 months. On TikTok, I have 30,000 followers, and on Instagram, I have 43,000 followers. And the reason why I'm mentioning my following is because when I was considering doing this, I was searching on YouTube for other people who have done this, people who have a following, who have decided to actually just let it go and, despite have a following, delete social media. But I couldn't really find any videos. So I really wanted to integrate that aspect of using social media into this video. And then I'm not quitting, but I am refining considerably my use of YouTube and Substack. The reason why I'm not quitting those entirely is because they don't cause me grief. I am not addicted, I would say, to YouTube or Substack. Substack in itself is not really a social media platform, although I can see it going in that direction. So that's why I'm including it in this, because I want to be really careful about my use of Substack. YouTube, I would count as social media technically, but for me personally, I don't use it in that way. I use it as an explore function. So it feels different for me. I don't struggle with it in terms of addiction. Why I'm quitting. Okay, so I've written down a list here of the reasons why I'm quitting, and I wonder if any of these are familiar or resonate with you. I care about my brain health, and it's very easy for me to get trapped using social media, and it's not good for my brain. I went through a lot of phases of trying to convince myself that because of the connection that I get on social media that it is beneficial to me, but I think the costs definitely outweigh the benefits. I also have ADHD, so my brain absolutely loves the dopamine reward, the instant gratification of being on social media. And I'm really cautious of the long-term effects that that's having on my brain. I don't want to be consumed by external validation, and this is the very thing that I've been trying to get away from. My entire life is being driven by external validation, because that's what I've always looked to make decisions in my life, decide what's right or wrong. And it's quite insidious, but I think social media does this. If you're a creator, it does it by, subconsciously you take note of what people like and don't like, and you lean into what they like so that you can grow your platform. And as a consumer, I still think it happens, because you see what other people are doing, and you see what people like on the surface seem to like about them, and you think, well, if I was like that, then people would like me in the same way. Again, all very subconscious and insidious in my case at least, but I still notice these things happening, even if I'm not consciously doing them on purpose. I don't want to put myself in a box or be molded by an algorithm. As a creator, I feel an intense amount of pressure to be very clearly definable and to put myself in a box and to be consistent. All of the things that people, specialists, tell you to do as a content creator. And that's just not, I don't like that at all. I'm not judging anyone else who wants to do that, but I really struggle with that, and it makes me feel, it impacts my self-esteem, honestly. So I want to be able to be free to be myself and not have to worry about how I present myself online, or whether what I share is, people say, like on brand or whatever. And as a consumer, I think it's also important to notice that social media does tend to make people seem more one-dimensional. And the old famous thing about social media just being the highlight reel, that's definitely true. And these days, there's also something to be said about social media being a place for, the exploitation of your vulnerability, like people, really sharing the dark depths of their souls. And again, no judgment either way, because if anything, I've been more on the latter side of things. It makes me cautious of how social media impacts our understanding of how other people experience the world. Like, it makes me sometimes believe that people are either absolutely okay or absolutely not okay, and that there's no nuance, and that people can't be struggling in the multitude of ways that I am, because I only see one or two dimensions of them online, which is just not the case. I don't want to compare myself and focus on what I lack. And I always thought, I don't really compare myself to people online. And I did. It's just that it wasn't happening consciously. Subconsciously, I am. And I find myself feeling anxious when I use Instagram, for example, because I'm comparing myself to what other people are doing and achieving. And I find that to be it makes me focus on what I lack in my life rather than what I have and what I'm grateful for and what I love about my life. And often it's making me compare myself with people and to things they're doing that I wouldn't even really want to do in my real life. Like, if I was given the option to do those things, I don't necessarily think I would take it. But because I can even see it as an option and a potential choice, I waste my time comparing myself and thinking that I'm not good enough for not even having that option in my life, if that makes sense. It's wild to realize. I don't want to constantly be triggered into an anxious state by what I consume on social media. The one thing I really, really hate about the scrolling, and specifically the FYP on TikTok, is that you just get shown random things. And even if the algorithm knows you really well, you can't control what comes up. So you can one minute be watching something that's really like fun and exciting and, happy. And the next bit be watching something and someone tell you something that like hits a trigger you have or makes you feel deeply anxious about something. And again, this isn't always subconscious. It isn't always conscious. It's happening subconsciously. And it's only now I've started to like really monitor how I feel in my body after using social media that I realize it does trigger an anxious state in me, and I don't feel calm. I don't feel collected. If anything, I feel really off kilter once I've been using it. I want more time to create things I care about. I've always said to myself that what I care about is creating art and about creating genuine things that express how I experience the world. Like, I see myself, I understand now that I am an artist and that that's how I move through the world. But social media for me is a distraction from that ultimate purpose that I have. Whilst I am on social media, I will always prioritize the content creation because of the instant gratification that it gives me over the writing project that's going to take me months and months and months to complete. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with liking creating content, but for me the issue is that it gets in the way of these other projects that I also really want to create. And if I'm honest with myself, I would get more gratification out of and more growth out of in the long term than the content creation. I don't want to feed an addiction that has no end. One of the things I really, really struggle with is that social media is never ending. You can scroll and scroll and scroll and it will continue forever. You will always be able to feed the addiction to the dopamine if you want to. And for me, not having an ending is in some ways like when I'm not feeling great about myself. That's what I love about social media, which is dangerous in and of itself. But when I'm feeling good, it's what makes me anxious, because I think, well, I don't want to get trapped here. I want to get out of this space, not continually feed myself with random information all the time, because it makes me overstimulated. I don't want to live my life on my phone. I don't want to live my whole life on my phone. The number of hours that I have spent staring at my phone with my neck craned, not only when I've been on my social media addiction, but when I was on my work addiction. You know, you can get addicted to WhatsApp. There are so many ways that this can impact your life, but specifically with social media for me, the number of hours I've spent just scrolling, and what do I have to show for it? Like, honestly, it's scary. I want to use what energy I do have in the real world. So as someone who is ADHD and autistic, my energy fluctuates a lot and I don't have very much of it. And if I'm really honest with myself about how I spend my energy, I really don't want to spend that energy online. It's not the real world. Yes, it really does help with connection, especially when you're in a place of, like I was, discovering that I'm ADHD and autistic and I didn't know anyone else in real life who was. But long term, it's not the same as finding human connection, and that takes energy. And the energy that I spend online at some point, that point being now, I feel needs to be translated into real life. So that's my list of whys. There are probably loads of other ones, but that's where I got to. So how I'm quitting. I'm deleting all of the social media apps from my phone. So my phone will not have any social media on it. That's including TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Substack. It would include things like Twitter, for example, if I had that. And I've asked my husband to put a code on my Play Store so that I can't access my Play Store. It's in the parental guidance section, which is ironic. So I am treating myself as a child that cannot be trusted, and he's put a lock on it so that I cannot download those apps onto my phone without him giving me the password. I've also logged out of and blocked all of the social media websites on my laptop, apart from YouTube and Substack. Using, you can use those blocking extensions. So I can't access Instagram and TikTok on my laptop either. So nowhere can I access those apps. And then in terms of YouTube and Substack, which I said I do want to keep, but I want to adapt the way that I have access to them, I will minimize my exposure to YouTube by downloading an extension called Unhook. And I've trialed this out a little bit. It's great because you can change the settings depending on what you want. But for me, YouTube is actually only really an issue when I'm fed suggested videos, like the algorithm. So I have set up my extension so that it takes away all of the front page. So I'm not suggested videos at all. All I can see if I click on the subscription tab is my subscriptions, which I've decided to opt in to see. So it's less addictive to me because it's not a discovery tool as much as it is a sort of catalogue of what I've already signed up to see. It also allows you to do things like turn off comments. So if you're someone that gets really into like reading all the comments and getting stuck in comment wars on YouTube or whatever, spending too much time doing that, then you can turn off the comments so that you can't see any of it. There's quite a few different things. So that I'm hoping will really help to minimize my time spent on YouTube, because obviously I create videos. I also use YouTube as a search engine for research on topics that I love. So I don't want to get rid of it, but I just want to really work on how I use it. I'm also not deleting Substack, minimizing my access to Substack on my computer, because I really don't have an issue with that. It's where I post my newsletter every week, and it's not really social media, although I can see it going in that direction. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that. But I log in once a week to post my newsletter, and that's it. So I'm not really worried about that one. My fears. Okay, so I'm absolutely terrified. These are the things that basically my brain keeps going, oh, Charlie, you don't want to do this experiment because, you know, this, what if? And one of the major what ifs is linked to the fact that I have followings. My brain keeps saying to me, what if there's like an opportunity here to, you know, make money online and to become an online content creator and live this life that, you know, seemingly is so sought after in this day and age. And especially as an artist, I was thinking, you know, it would be fab to be able to like make my art and publish it online. But then I think if I did do that, then I would be a slave to turning up and showing up on a very consistent basis every week on these social media apps. And is that actually what I want for my life? No, it's not. It's not healthy for me personally. And I don't want to jeopardize my health for the sake of a potential what if of being able to make money online. Another fear is that I'll be disconnected from people and the community that I've accessed online, which honestly has been really life-changing and healing at the time at which I really needed it. And I realize that actually those people that do want to remain connected to me will find me on, you know, the slower platforms where I create less frequently and show up less frequently, like on YouTube and Substack, if they really want to. And I will retain connection with people that actually want to have deeper connections and deeper conversations than the more, you know, shallow nature of short form reels and TikToks and things like that. It's also probably going to encourage me to develop community in real life, you know, like find people in real life to hang out with as opposed to necessarily only hanging out with people online, which can only be a good thing, I think. Another fear I have is that I don't become aware of kind of cultural issues that aren't necessarily discussed in mainstream media, but are discussed in communities online. And I don't really have a solution for that one yet. I think that is one of the kind of pitfalls of deciding to take yourself off social media, is that by definition you don't have access to the kind of like really quick, fast-paced individual reporting of people's day-to-day lives. So I'm gonna have to see how I can like try and manage that as well. So that's my list of fears. My fear, most of all, above all, is that I'm going to not be able to do this. I definitely think I'm addicted. I think it's going to be really hard to stick to this. So I will be honest if I break it, because that's reality. I just feel as though it's going to be really hard. But the next steps are I'm quitting, as I've said. I'm taking 6 months as an experiment to see how I feel along the way, and I will be sharing my, you know, little updates on here in these kind of videos along the way. Oh, I'm nervous. I'll let you know how it goes. And if you're thinking of doing something similar and you want to join me at the same time, that would be epic. Or if you're, you know, you've got things that you have considered that I haven't touched on in this video, that you think would be helpful for me to know, I would be really appreciative if you could drop them in the comments. And yeah, if you're on this journey with me, then good luck. Let's hope we've got this.